Welcome to Read This Author's Corner. I am your host, Alice Maria, and I am so excited to have with me today author Shirley Neal, the author of Afrocentric Style, a celebration of Blackness and identity in pop culture. Welcome, Shirley. Welcome, Shirley. I am so excited to have you on Read This Author's Corner. I received a copy of your beautiful book. I mean, the photos are fantastic. The information is so enlightening. I cannot wait to dive into this conversation. But before we do that, I would love for you to introduce yourself to the audience and let them get to know a little bit about you.
Okay, my pleasure. Thank you for having me. And thanks for the kudos for the book. I am an author, but I am also a TV and film writer and producer, and actually cut my teeth in that. And I'm still writing and producing for TV. I always knew that I wanted to have my retirement years writing books, fiction, nonfiction. So I started planting the seed really, really early. And about 7 years ago, I decided that I was ready to make the leap and to really kind of get ahead of the curve. I attended Cal State University Long Beach, where they had a ghostwriting certification program, professional ghostwriting certification program. And they were the only school that was offering that. And of course, you don't have to be certified to be a ghostwriter. But what I loved about this program is it allowed me to learn about the business and understand what publishers look for, agents look for, and the whole process of ghostwriting. So I did that. And then while I was producing and doing script writing, I kind of segued into ghostwriting. So I was writing mostly memoirs. And it was for people, not that they couldn't write, they just didn't have time to write. A lot of notables who were just really busy with their film and TV careers. So I did that for about 7 years, and then had this idea for this project. And said, I think I'm ready to start writing my own. And I'm also a pop culture enthusiast. I tell people I love pop culture. I love Black identity. I love Black history. I love Black culture. And I was working with AfricanAncestry.com, the president there, who was all about Black identity. And just working with her made me decide that I really want my first book to kind of cover our culture and identity. And so this book actually, it evolved from something very different to what it is now. But I wanted to be able to make sure that my first book kind of covered those areas. Most of my production work dealt with Africa, Black history, Black culture, and identity. So I'm just kind of carrying that over. And I want it to be entertaining too. What I do with my productions, people say I have a voice in what I produce. And I wanted my book to also have a similar voice, whereas it doesn't seem like, before you know it, you're done. You know, you're reading the book, and before you know it, it's like, wow, oh, I want more. When you're watching my documentaries or my TV series, or you're reading my script, you're engaged. And I think that's what my goal has always been in whatever I do. So I'm hoping and I'm hearing good feedback from the book, as I do with my other projects, that they're engaging. And if I can get that out of people, then I've done my job.
I think that's extremely engaging. Even just the name of the chapters in your book are engaging. The names of the chapters are so they're so fire that you want to read the chapters. Just like, what is this about? Like wearing the movement. And then you get in there, you see the whole Black Panther and that whole era. And then patterns, what is it? Patterns, pride, and African style. You know, it's just like you hear the rhythmic voice and your writing, your play on words, beauty queens and cover girls. As a fellow creative, you give me words and I see pictures, like almost everything in my mind, everything that I hear, almost everything that I hear or read, I can make my own movie to it. So, and so I'm listening to your names and I'm really feeling motivated by them. So we're going to start off with wearing the movement, because I really believe we have to begin in the beginning. So can you share with us a little bit about the motivation and the creative process in creating that particular chapter?
Well, it was actually inspired. At the time I started writing this, it was the actually we were getting through the end of the George Floyd era, and so people were lost for what to say, and so they and how to be heard. So they started wearing their messages on their clothing, whether it was in the T-shirts or if it was subtle movements. They were challenging the Black Panthers, so they would just wear the black beret or the black jacket, and they didn't have to say much. It was very much, in a lot of ways, there was a lot of peaceful protest. And so as I was watching that, I decided that this is something that is worth really exploring over a period of time, not just in this moment, but I've seen this movie before. And how did we handle it? How did we handle it in the 60s? How was it handled in the 70s and 80s? How was it handled in the Trayvon Martin era? Black Lives Matter. And so I just really started looking at what was out there and noticing that people were drawing, depending on your age. The people of my generation were drawing on the Panthers. Others were drawing on Trayvon, 20-somethings, because that's what they came into, and some were even drawing back to respectability fashions of the Martin Luther King era. So it led me to want to explore it all. But as I do in this book, I don't want to just show pictures. And I love that people are fascinated by the pictures. And I was very careful in what I selected because I wanted the pictures to draw you to the stories. But as I say in my introduction, you have to read the narrative, read what's there, because I basically give backstories. I don't want to just see someone, a young person, wearing a black jacket and a black beret and pumping the fist and not knowing why they're doing it. Right. Where did that come from? Respectability fashion in today's world is a lot of young people see that as, you're going to tell me how I have to wear my hair. You're going to tell me how I have to dress. Well, back in the day, that wasn't respectability fashion. It had a different meaning back then. Back then, it meant women had to wear the pearls and wear the suits, and men had to wear the ties to get respect, to be taken seriously. So I wanted to be able to kind of juxtapose then and now so that you can really see a history of wearing the movement. And so I do that actually throughout the whole book. I kind of peel back, what is this pop culture moment and what can we draw from it about our identity, about history, about our culture. We don't just do these fads or wear these fashions for fashion's sake. There's a meaning behind them. And so that was really the genesis of coming up with that chapter.
Yeah, I love that because we're probably from the same era. So what I saw there was just like, I know this, I remember this. I remember this change. I even, not just the fashion, but when names started to change from people naming their kids Alice and Shirley to Kari and Laquan and things like that. And the one generation is going like, what? What are you doing? And the other generation is like, no, this is my identity. I'm owning something new. I don't want to own that. So,
Right. And a lot of it is very positive. I don't want
yeah,
people to think that it's, we're putting this away because we've advanced. There's a lot of nuggets here that we can draw from our history. And a lot of it is just very, very positive, but you just need to know it. You need to
right.
understand it and appreciate it.
Yeah, I truly believe that not knowing and understanding history, um, one, it puts you in a state of panic when things start happening that you've never been exposed to before. But when you see history, when you know a little bit about history and you can look back and go, oh, this is similar to that. You know, this is how it was. This is how it was responded to in the past. This is not a whole new dish. It's just in a different Pyrex.
Exactly. I like that. I like that.
so, so yes, I love how you did that, but I want to go back even before the beginning of the book because you said this book has taken on different iterations. So, what was the book supposed to? What was your original concept for the book?
Well, it's almost far from this. It started out to be, I produced a series for TV1 called Living with Soul.
Mm-hmm.
And it was about infusing your home design with African culture. And I did that because I love traveling to Africa. I helped to launch the Africa Channel Network. And one of my responsibilities was to oversee our office in South Africa. So I spent a lot of time in South Africa, fell in love with South African culture, which is very different from a lot of other sub-Saharan African countries. I love the style. I loved the art, the creative fashions. I just loved everything about South Africa, and then I love everything about Africa in general. And I traveled to Africa. I spent even before the Africa Channel. I traveled to Africa about 50 times over like a 2 or 3 year period. So I was in Africa a lot. And I was always buying furniture and clothes and just appreciating the culture.
Mm-hmm.
And my different homes, I infused with African art and statue. I had everything in my house.
Mm-hmm.
So I decided I wanted to create a book that was kind of an offshoot of the TV series that I did, infusing your home with African design. And so it started as that. And then the more I talked to my agent, the more we started kind of expanding it. So that was going to be maybe just a chapter. The more she would hear me talk about maybe African patterns and Kente cloth and what that meant, and then okay, that becomes a chapter. And then so every time we would talk, it just kind of expanded more. So the first time she pitched it, we actually got good feedback that said, we love all this, but now you got to narrow it down. It's too much.
Mm-hmm.
So really narrow it down. And so we narrowed it down to what I cared about the most, and what I thought would draw more readers. And that was fashion, hair, and beauty. And I'm still going to write my Living with Soul. Actually, it's halfway written. I'm still going to get that out there, but that's how this started. And it just kind of just evolved over time, as books will do when you're writing them.
Well, it's funny because I am I'm a certified life coach, and I actually work with creatives, and I find that most creative people operate differently than the business plan, right?
Oh, yeah.
And coming out of fashion, we made a prototype. This was a prototype. We fit it, we tweak it. We like, no, I don't like that. Or you can't move. You can't do this. And you kept evolving it until you got the product that you want. So as I'm hearing you talk, I'm like, oh, that's just a creative process in my mind. That's just how
exactly.
That's just how it works. But the other thing that you said that struck me is that this started as interior decorating. And I had an interior decorating business for 15 years. And
Oh, wow.
I infused it with so much. I was doing it in the 90s before you could actually find African American art and African art. It was really challenging. So I was kind of on the front end of seeing those things come into manifestation. So I'm like, okay, something else we have in common. So that was,
well, one of the things I wanted to do with that also that I did carry over into this book is because it wasn't just a design book, it was also weaving my story, because having traveled that much in Africa, I had so many powerful stories to tell. And so it was to be more of a hybrid. It was a bit of design, but it was really a little bit memoir. And so I think that's what was most intriguing to the publisher. So what I made sure of with this book is I was encouraged to continue to weave my stories into this. And as you read this, you'll notice that I don't just talk about a topic, I talk about my experiences too. And what I've learned is, and I suspected this, is my experiences are relatable to a lot of readers. Yes. And they'll say, oh, yeah, I did that, or I remember that, or wow, that happened to you. And one of my goals with this book has been for people, number one, to relate. I want it to seem like they're talking to or hearing from a girlfriend, not or a cousin, or just someone. It's a comfortable read. I don't want you to think you're learning about history in a textbook. And so weaving my stories in there, as I would have done the other book, I think makes it more relatable, and it's tied into a lot of information. So one of the common feedback that I'm hearing is it's taking me a long time to read it because I'm trying to absorb everything. There's so much in here. And yet it's an easy read. So I think I've accomplished
it is. There is a wide breadth of information there. But again, it's getting an understanding, but not necessarily a history lesson, right? It's connecting you to the past and giving you an understanding of the past and giving you guides if you want to even go deeper. You know?
Exactly. Everything's in bite-sized portions. And that's why it seems like there's so much, because I kind of introduce you into a topic, you get into it, and before you know it, I've moved on.
Well, back in before COVID, and you would go to Costco's and they would give you all these different delicious samplings of things. And you're like, you walk away buying all this other stuff that you didn't come for. The sample was so good. And that's what comes to mind when I think about your book. It's like the sampling that you're giving makes you want to go, okay, I got to go read this book because this goes deeper. And she gave me enough information to make me want to know about XYZ person or PQX person. So I think that's really cool the way you did that. And
that was very intentional.
You were able to spread a lot of love around a lot of different people. Okay, so then I jumped into hip hop and high fashion just because I know that has to be something that people are like, okay, what do you have to say about that?
Well, I think in that area, I wanted to cover what we don't know, what we don't hear about a lot, what doesn't get the attention. So I really focus on a couple of designers that are just prolific and have really been good about opening our eyes to, again, Black history and culture. I talk about Patrick Kelly and Virgil Abloh and Dapper Dan, who don't always get their flowers in mainstream, and letting people know that these are the guys. It's what I also do in one of my other chapters, Raymond and Race for the Runway. I use these designers or these hip hop artists or those who are serving hip hop artists. That will get you in when, hip hop to high fashion. If you want to find out what do we have to say about these hip hop artists, but when you get into there, you see it's really those who have helped to make these hip hop artists who they are in terms of their look. And so I really wanted to highlight the role, number one, that hip hop artists and urban fans of the music, how they have paid homage to the high fashion designers that we hear so little about. Louis Vuitton, we're wearing Louis Vuitton. Hip hoppers were wearing Louis Vuitton, but there's a brother who is running Louis Vuitton, creative director. What about him? And his responsibility when he got there, when Virgil Abloh got there, he made sure that he represented our culture. And so by his designs, by his looks, Pharrell Williams is doing the same thing. So I wanted people to just really appreciate that these hip hop artists are doing more than just wearing the clothes. They're making decisions, they're bringing other people along, and they're representing our culture and our identity. So it's a very different chapter than what you might think when you first open it and you see Lil' Kim, pretty much naked with LV all over her. That draws you in, but
right.
Keep reading.
Right, exactly. And then I was looking at the patterns, pattern pride and African style, and I thought you had a couple of very interesting photos in that section where you have like Nancy Pelosi on, kneeling in the Capitol with the Kente cloth or African print cloth on. So I'm curious as to that. What created that?
Yeah, in that whole chapter, much of it I talk about Kente cloth in particular, but I talk about all African cloth and style and how we use it, and why it's become just this symbol of Blackness. I mean, everyone who is ever gone to a graduation or church service or something, at some point, Black or white, you've worn Kente cloth because that says this is the symbol. And generally, when you're wearing it, I wanted people to know it's such a common, acceptable cloth, but do you know what it means?
Right.
Why is this one particular thing a sense of pride? And why is it okay to wear it on certain occasions, but not others? And I wanted to show the one with Nancy Pelosi and other members of the Congressional Black Caucus kneeling. They kneeled because they were trying to pay homage and respect to not only George Floyd, but all the Black men who were unarmed Black men who were killed by police officers. So this was their way of saying, okay, we've got a bill that's coming out that's going to kind of help with this, so we can kind of get rid of this problem. They knelt for as long as it was determined that George Floyd was on the ground. But it got a lot of backlash because Nancy Pelosi was out front wearing it. And this came at a time when the emotions were really raw, and people were not upset with them kneeling, because all over the country there were white people kneeling
Right.
out of respect. Police officers were kneeling, mayors were kneeling, and they were white. So that wasn't the issue. The issue was that, why are you wearing our Kente cloth, Kente cloth, as you're kneeling? And why is Nancy Pelosi wearing it? Why? It was okay when she wore it to present an honor to an African chief when she was in Ghana. But why is she wearing it now? So I open up discussion. I don't give my opinion of if it's good or bad. I just offer and that there's an opportunity to entertain discussion. Mm-hmm. I show why she said she did it, why at the time Karen Bass was the chair of the CBC. And so I offer what her reasoning was, what Nancy Pelosi's reasoning was. I offer what Africans who created Kente cloth, what their reasoning was, and let you make a decision. But I just kind of bring the facts out there, and then we explore this whole Kente cloth. Where did it come from? How did it become ours? And when is it appropriate to wear and not wear? So I just put these little nuggets out there, give you facts. Celebrated it, which, as my subtitle says, it's a celebration of Blackness in pop culture. But that was a major viral moment. And one of the things that I do is I try to take iconic and viral moments, grab those images, and now let's talk about them. And so that was a very, that one gets a lot of attention, mostly in school settings. And I'm doing speaking engagements, and that's one that's open to a lot of debate.
Last year, I did something with a literacy association and Centenary University. We had a taste of literary culture, and it was with schools. It was with teachers, introducing teachers to books about culture, Black culture, throughout the diaspora, throughout the world. And one of the authors, she does a children's book on Kente cloth and African hairstyles, the majestic hair shows. So I'm hearing you, I'm like, okay, I feel like this is the adult version of the children's book, or even the high school or college version of the children's book. So I might have to put this book in my repertoire if I do that this year.
Yeah.
I moved to a topic that I'm sure we all know is either the bane of some people's existence or a sense of complete love, pride, and satisfaction, and other Black hair love. Oh my gosh. It has like, it covers the gambit, right? It covers the gambit of emotions, good, bad, ugly. It covers them all. But why did you choose the things that you chose?
I wanted to give a balanced coverage. So I start with I dedicated 3 chapters to hair. I could have done more, but the first one is hair love. So I wanted to start out on a positive note and look at put that in your head. Hair love. This is about loving our hair. And the second one is Nappily Ever After, which does get some. I mean, even my sister, who before the book came out and I was telling her about the chapter, she's like, no, that's negative. Don't do that. But I actually based Nappily Ever After on the TV series or TV movie that came out that was streaming that stars Sanaa Lathan. And I like the title because at least in my book, I wanted to show you happy endings, Nappily Ever After, and that's how the movie was. I wanted to show controversy, some controversial moments in in our history, mostly the more current pop culture moments that started negative, but they ended happily. It was a longer chapter, but editors were, so I kind of moved it down. I didn't want to make it too weighty with negative, even though it ended with a happy ending. But it gets a lot of discussion, and I think people actually really appreciate it because there is a happy ending.
Right.
The other one, I kind of threw everything else in. I knew I couldn't keep talking about hair. So my Afro's attitudes and other main MANE attractions, that's kind of everything else. That's the Afro, that's all of our styles that are part of our culture, the bald, the shave, the locks, the Afro. But again, I celebrate history, our historical looks, give you context, and we talk about where we are today. And again, just kind of pose a lot of questions to make you think about the pride that we have and to celebrate our hair. The whole book is really a celebration.
Yeah,
it's really
it is.
a book of pride, but it really gets you to think. That is a very popular. The Hair Love is very popular because I focus a lot on things for children too, and how we in our identity, and makes us think back. In my trailer for this book, I feature a picture of Whoopi Goldberg with a white shirt on her head. And that's gotten a lot of people to want to read, why is Whoopi wearing this and what does it have to do with Black identity? And it has a lot to do with Black identity. At one period in her life, it happened in my life, Maya Angelou writes about it as well. A number of Black women, young girls of a certain age, we wanted that long, pretty, blonde hair. And then that raised questions. I mean, in Whoopi's instance, and this was from her one woman show, she didn't want just long blonde hair. She wanted to be white. And so what I do is we talk about that was very real. And that was very real for a large demographic of Black women, a large age group of Black women. Toni Morrison writes about it. And by introducing things like that, I don't just leave it there so that you get angry. I talk about how we've evolved from there and how our sense of pride, once we know about our culture and once we know about identity, then we evolve from that. And we're celebrating who we are. We're celebrating our hair and our color and everything. So it truly is about celebrating who we are.
Yeah. And I see that. I get the sense of that. And I think it's good. There's always that good juxtaposition of having the positive and the negative. So it's not all sunshine and roses, because
that's not life.
Yeah, exactly. And everybody's not feeling good about everything. But if you understand that there are people that once might have felt the way you are feeling now and have come to another enlightenment or another understanding, then you can possibly say, oh, okay, all right. Okay, I got that, because sometimes what I have learned over the years is that a lot of times people put their limited experience and limited perspective out in the world as facts. And having lived in like 7 different states and been born in the West Indies and all these different things, and like you, so you travel to Africa quite frequently, you recognize there's so many different perspectives on things that if you have not traveled, if you don't interact with people that think differently than you, then you spew a very one-sided perspective, like, oh, men are bad. Like, to have you do what you do and show both sides of the coin and give multiple perspectives, I think that is the best way to really write, and put information into the world.
One of the things that I hear a lot of feedback in that, and we're talking about hair love chapter, I talk about we're in this whole natural hair movement, but it's okay to wear your hair straight. I wear my hair straight. It's preference, and so I tell stories about that, and that it just draws up a lot of discussion. That it doesn't make me less proud of who I am because I choose to wear my hair straight, and I still have the pride, and you may see it natural next week.
Right.
So I talk about choice because I want this book to be for a really wide demographic. I want young people to know it's okay to be natural. It's okay to be yourself. It's okay, but it's also okay if you want your hair pressed. It's okay that, so I just kind of cover the gamut, and the key is just always just kind of celebrating who we are.
Right. As NDRE says, I'm not my hair. And
That's
you can
right.
rock it straight like Oprah Winfrey. You can have it on lock like Bob Marley. So you just reiterate the fact that we're not a monolith. We are a diverse people with diverse likes and interests and eye for style, and to learn to accept one another, which I think is a very beautiful thing. And then you have beauty queens and cover girls. I tell you, I absolutely just fell in love with the titles of your chapters.
Oh, good.
So I just love the title. Just the titles alone, I'm like, okay. I want to hear more. So I would just like to give people a bite-sized nuggets of what your thought process is in this book and creating the book. So as a way of sparking interest, like, oh, that chapter sounds like something I would love to read about. So that's how come I've tried to pick quite a few of them so we could just give them a little tasting of what the chapter might be. And that might be the one that says, okay, I got to get the book.
Well, I say I cut my teeth writing and producing TV, but I actually cut it in creative services and promotion and marketing. And one of the things we learned was you only have, when I was producing promos, I started working for a local station here in Los Angeles that was eventually bought by Fox. And so I had to produce 30-second, 10-second, 20-second promos for our programming. You got to grab people in 10 seconds. And then for the print, you had a sentence. And so I pretty much learned how to use words to not just give you an idea of what the chapter is about or what this product is about, but that will also just draw you to it. So that comes from the chapter titles, just kind of come from that experience. I pretty much came up with the titles after I wrote the chapters. What am I saying here now? And then that would get me to write it. The Beauty Queens and Cover Girls, I wanted to include that chapter because we had so much going on right as I was writing this, where we had just had made history. 5 of the beauty titles were by Black women. And it's like, I have to really celebrate this. And so then I couldn't do this without mentioning, of course, Vanessa Williams. So I decided, let's just kind of go down the line and let's talk about, this. And I even put myself in there because I had entered I was in a beauty pageant. I won't say I entered it. Someone entered me. And at the time, I wasn't sure I even believed in the whole notion of beauty pageants. I was as a kid, but then as I grew older, I was kind of against it. And yet here I am being entered in one and winning. So all of that was very interesting to me because I said, this has probably happened to a lot of people, where your thought process about beauty or self has changed to evolve. So I wanted to include that. I also wanted to celebrate where we had come. There was a time when you couldn't have Black women at all considered in the Miss America pageant. When I was interested in it as a kid, and I was glued to the TV. I didn't miss that we weren't in there, because we just weren't in a lot of things.
Right.
And so I didn't miss it, but I just marveled at seeing these women in the pageant and whatnot. But we know so little about how we came to be, where we had 5 winners of color, in the major pageants. So, and then it was the same thing with Cover Girls. I remember getting my first Essence magazine, and with the cover girl on the cover of that. So I didn't know what to leave out. I wanted to cover the cover girls. I wanted to cover beauty pageants. So I said, let me just lop them together and let me just do a timeline. So it's not just this is cover girls and this is pageants. Let me just start from the 60s and let's take it to where we are today. And it worked, because it really sees how we've evolved as individuals, ourselves, and also how the country and the world sees our beauty.
In wrapping up, is there something that we did not cover that you feel that you would love for the audience to know?
I would love for people to share the knowledge. When I autograph books for people, I've been saying, may you enjoy and share the knowledge. I want people to, it's a collectible book. It has a great shelf life. You can keep it on your coffee table forever and pick it up. It's not really dated at all. But I want you to not just leave it on the coffee table. Share the information. Get a book for someone else. It really covers things that we haven't considered, and that's worth celebrating and that's worth sharing. And so I think that's what I'd like for people to take away from here.
Well, I thank you so much for your time. The book, again, I didn't get through the whole thing, but like the first few chapters that I was able to get through, because I got it over the weekend, I found quite informative. The photographs are amazing. Again, it's like bite-sized amounts of information about people that it's so easy for you to now do a deeper dive if that's what you desire. But if you don't, you still have a better understanding of the time and what happened. You did a wonderful job of articulating that in your book. So I thank you so much for doing it. As someone that loves history and loves Black culture, I'm so, I love it. I love it.
Thank you.
This is like so my wheelhouse. So this is my happy place. So I thank you so much for your time and your talent. And I look forward to your next book and your next project.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you having me and sharing the knowledge.
I would like to thank my very special guest, Shirley Neal, for spending the time on Read This to talk about her wonderful book, Afrocentric Style. Please go out and pick up a copy of it and support this amazing work that she is doing. This has been Read This, Author's Corner. I am your host, Alice Maria. Keep reading, keep growing, and stay empowered.